Breaking right now, Piers Morgan has got his own baby reindeer stalker. And whatever you think of the uncensored host, there's something really disturbing about the targeting of people in the public eye by, quite frankly, complete crazies who will do anything possible for attention or money. Trust me, I know exactly what he's going through. So let me take you through this. Piers Morgan revealed on the front page of The Sun that he has been hounded by his own baby reindeer stalker after interviewing the Netflix's Real Life Martha. His baby reindeer, though, is called Felicity Jane Loud, and she has bombarded the TV host with wild accusations of harassment and dishonesty in an apparent bid for a big payout. But what Piers Morgan has done is pull a Jay-Z, and rather than pay this woman to shut up, he has decided to speak out. And this is what Piers Morgan said. What she was trying to accuse me of was absurd, complete fantasy. He said the despicable piece of work will finally be stopped. And here's where it gets shocking. This woman has filed 64 cases against celebrities in the past year, including a bizarre claim that Piers hijacked her brother's identity. Now, this is obviously really shocking given that this woman had been jailed for 6 months in 2007 for stalking a woman called Rachel North, who was a survivor of the July 7 bombings. How low can you go? And Piers had never actually met or had contact with her, even though last September she filed a central London County Court judgment against him and his production company. In an apparent bid to force him into a hefty payout, she accused Piers of abuse, harassment, fraud, and dishonesty. She claimed that Piers had worked with insalubrious associates on a campaign involving stealing my creative work and family history to promote himself as a member of my family. And she claimed he is promoting himself as a lost aristocrat to compensate for his humiliations on the world stage after his campaign of stalking and harassment of Harry and Meghan. I knew they were going to be there somewhere. Loud also accused Piers of being sexually obsessed with toilets. Piers added, I didn't want to have to defend her, but you have to after being contacted by the court. Otherwise, it goes through the court process and you can get a judgment against you or your company, which is what she was trying to do.
All right, let's start with what we now know about this disturbing case. Piers Morgan's stalker, Felicity Jane Loud, has filed 64 cases against celebrities, making insane accusations. She accused Piers of hijacking her brother's identity. She claimed he worked with insalubrious associates to steal her creative work. She even accused him of being sexually obsessed with toilets. And folks, this isn't just a one-time thing. This woman has a history of stalking.
Now, Piers did actually win this case. She will have to pay him £6,000 of damages, but he said, I've no expectation of seeing any of that money, nor is anyone else. She is a harasser, a bit like baby reindeers. This could happen to anyone. And by the way, Loud is also believed to have targeted the Harry Potter author JK Rowling. So let me bring in Alex Phillips, who is, of course, behind her own Substack. That's what she said on this very disturbing case. And Alex, what's really interesting about this is I think increasingly people are seeing what was done to Donald Trump in the US and are thinking that they can use the UK court system to wage legal warfare against high-profile, well-paid people just wanting a settlement. And the problem is sometimes celebrities will just pay a settlement to think this just needs to go away. So I give a lot of kudos to Piers Morgan for actually calling out his very own baby reindeer.
Yeah, and actually he's in a position of power where he can, because, you know, a lot of things wouldn't affect him. He's made millions, he's got a high profile, he can afford top lawyers, but things like this happen all the time on smaller levels. So, for example, I'll give you a story from my hairdresser, right? He said that he had employed a woman who was from, I think it was Albania, who'd come to work in the salon, who hadn't disclosed that she was pregnant. Anyway, she worked there for about 6 weeks or something, then she left, and then she brought a lawsuit against him and said, I was pregnant and I had nowhere to lie down. I didn't have my own toilet facilities. I didn't have this, I didn't have that, da, 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 da. Now, he should have easily been able to win that in court, but the point is, he would have to then pay for lawyers. And by the time all the legal bills are racked up and the time it takes, he kind of felt compelled to be able to, had to just try and settle with her out of court. There are loads of opportunists who are using our legal system, not least to say all of these so-called migrants who have second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth appeals to stay in this country for all sorts of ridiculous reasons. What is farcical about that is actually it is the UK taxpayer that pays both the government's legal bills and the defence bill of the particular migrant in question. I don't know how this woman seems to have been able to afford having all these cease and desist letters, whatever it may be, CCJs and a lot of it. We've got big issues in our legal system. We know that. We know that things that should never make it to court are making it to court. We were speaking earlier about people currently in prison who should never be in prison on sentences that are trumped up, to say the least. But what I would say about this woman, she's clearly unwell. She's got mental health issues. She has a problem. And again, what we have in this country is a system that will keep asylum seekers, so-called asylum seekers here, we'll say about someone who goes around stabbing someone up, oh, well, they've got mental health issues. This woman clearly has mental health issues. She probably needs to be institutionalized. Again, that's a whole other debate, but we constantly bemoan the fact we don't have enough people in social care. We don't have enough therapists, people on waiting lists for a year to get talking therapists. Well, back in the day, we actually had a sort of well-wrought system of asylums, for instance. Now, those are the privileges of the rich, those people who could afford to go to the Priory. We just have failure everywhere you look in the UK. But one thing is clear, we really need to grab the nettle. We need to get a grip of the mental health crisis. But more than this, we need to get a grip of the judicial system, which seems to be in its own mental health crisis.
In 2007, she was jailed for 6 months for stalking a 7/7 bombing survivor. She has filed legal claims against JK Rowling and other major public figures. She tried to force Piers into a massive payout by taking legal action against him and his production company. And here's where it gets even crazier. Piers won in court. Felicity Jane Loud was ordered to pay him £6,000 in damages. But as Piers put it, he has no expectation of seeing any of that money. She will just keep doing this to other people. And folks, this is why this story matters. It's not just about Piers. This could happen to anyone in the public eye. People like her exploit the legal system to harass their targets. And the real question is, why isn't the system doing more to stop this?
Do you think sometimes, Alex, though, we hide far too much behind the concept of mental health? Because let me just read out how Piers describes this woman. So he describes Loud as a convicted stalker who harassed a terror attack survivor. He says it's hardly possible to think of anything more despicable. She's still clearly a disturbed, unhinged human being. And he added, it does make me wonder if it would be taken more seriously if she was a man targeting a woman. I do think there's a bit of a double standard there. And there's nothing to actually suggest, Alex, that this woman does have some sort of actual diagnosed mental health condition. She might just be a really nasty piece of work.
Yeah, I agree. But he did use the word disturbed and unhinged, which to me suggests mad. And I think that you can have all sorts of personality disorders and this, that, and the other that can lead to certain things. But what I'm saying is, we trip over ourselves to say, oh, well, it must be mental health when it's just a blimmin' terrorist. But this woman clearly is disturbed and unhinged. I agree with Piers Morgan on that. And whether or not sitting down and having cognitive behavior therapy is going to suddenly revolutionize her life and she's going to be nice, I don't know. I don't know enough about the case. But like I said, the problem that we do have is whether you are disturbed and unhinged or whether you are a low-life, criminal foreign gang, a lot of people are now, or migrants who has no right to be in this country. A lot of people are able to exploit our judicial system. And if you're someone who's not disturbed and unhinged and just going about life, making money, being private, living within the law, you feel like you're constantly attacked. I feel like that. And everything, all the time is like, oh, well, you've gone 25 in a 20-mile-per-hour zone. Oh, great. You're literally coming after me for a crime that's actually really difficult to not commit, and letters come through the post because of this. I've recently tried to apply for a mortgage, and there's some character from my past who sent me a dick pic. He was an accountant 10 years ago, right? And I just said, I don't want you to be my accountant anymore. And all of a sudden, he's managed to like bring up CCJs against me because I rejected his advantages and his advances. And I'm having to go through a load of
Oh my God, that is
nonsense to try and.
appalling.
Oh God, Dan, it's just I'm used now in the modern world to feeling like I'm the one who's got to constantly answer to something. However hard I try, it's like,
Yeah,
and
that is
then
appalling.
you know,
Yeah,
killers are just the kid doesn't like chicken nuggets.
yeah, I just think we have to be so careful. And you're completely right to tie it to those cases, by the way, because I guess it does show that the system is being abused in so many ways. And we have to be incredibly careful because the problem we have, Alex, is that using a lawyer will bankrupt most people, which is why folk think, let's just settle it. Let's just get rid of this crazy person from my life. And that shouldn't be going on.
Now let's talk about how Meghan Markle is being dragged into this. Believe it or not, Felicity Jane Loud claimed that Piers Morgan was stalking Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, part of her unhinged accusations. She accused Piers of being humiliated after his campaign of stalking Meghan. She suggested Piers was trying to steal aristocratic status to compensate for it. And she linked her insane claims to Harry and Meghan's constant war with the press. And folks, this is where it gets ridiculous. Meghan has spent years trying to paint herself as the ultimate victim of the press. And now, unhinged conspiracy theorists are using that narrative for their own agendas. This is how dangerous victim culture can become. It fuels real-world harassment. And here's the kicker. This woman also targeted JK Rowling, another public figure constantly under attack for speaking out. Another person accused of absurd things by radical activists. And another example of how media figures are being stalked and harassed. At this point, it's clear Meghan and Harry's toxic media war has inspired dangerous behavior.
Right, we never used to have lawfare in this country. That was always a very American thing. And like most American things, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. And for a lot of America said, I'm going to sue you for this. I'm going to litigate against you for that. We never really had that system. It was always sort of commonsensical, you know. If someone's committed a crime or if someone's actually committed fraud or if someone owes a lot of money, then things end up in court. But creepingly now, and it's the fault of the government who have started doing these things, they've started bringing in courts and legislation for all sorts of stuff. You know, whether it be free speech, whether it be 20-mile-per-hour zones, whether it be not paying the TV license, you know, stuff that should have no business in courts is now clogging up the courts, and there seems to be more focus on these non-crimes and the amount of energy and time that they consume. And this has kind of led to this spiraling out of control of the judicial system, where the big things are kind of overlooked. It's like, oh, well, never mind, you don't have to go to jail. Or some sort of liberal Guardian reading so-called progressive judge goes, well, you know, this person's child doesn't like chicken nuggets back home and wherever they're from, so they've got to stay here, right to family life, ECHR. Yeah, the whole sort of common sense of the thing that's supposed to underpin common sense, which is the judicial system, has been flipped. And in a country, when you stop trusting your judicial system, when you stop trusting the letter of the law to be something that defends the weak, defends the vulnerable, defends the good, defends those who, you know, are sort of committed civic citizens who do all of their duties under the eyes of the law. When the law starts going after them and starts penalizing and penalizes them and stops going after and penalizing criminals, then you are in a very sticky situation. And it's clear that this is happening now in the United Kingdom.
It is. It's very, very disturbing. And look, some people will say, oh, Piers Morgan, what does he have to worry about? But in this case, I absolutely credit him with going public rather than just paying the woman off, which would have been very, very easy for him to do. Alex Phillips, so brilliant to chat. And please make sure you subscribe to Alex's incredible Substack. That's what she said. And we will speak next week. Thank you so much, Alex.
Now let's talk about what this means for the future. Piers Morgan isn't the only one being targeted. This is happening everywhere. Donald Trump has faced relentless legal cases aimed at silencing him. JK Rowling has been accused of ridiculous crimes for her opinions. Even people like Russell Brand have faced massive legal harassment. And folks, this is dangerous. This isn't about justice, it's about power. These activists use lawsuits as a way to silence people they don't like. And unless people start fighting back, it's only going to get worse. At the end of the day, this is a wake-up call. We need stronger protections against legal harassment. The media needs to call this out for what it is, an abuse of the system. And people like Piers Morgan deserve support for standing up to it. This isn't just about Piers, it's about all of us. Piers Morgan's stalker nightmare exposed. Will this happen to others? Meghan Markle's war with the press is fueling radical harassment. When will it stop? Legal warfare is being used to silence people. What can be done? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.